Uber home.
Oh, nice.
Fucking Uber.
Hey, they rock, man. They saved us thousands that night because I
Oh,
don't
I'm
think
sure.
either of us should have drove. Just say it.
You
And the
still
one
hungover?
the one who gets hurt when you drive is usually the sober person because they lock up, and the dumb drunk person like I would sit there and flail all around and be like, "What happened?" So it was good shit though. I had a really good time, and then my Thanksgiving was nice. I just chilled out with my honey, and we did what we do. It was good. You guys, how was your Thanksgiving weekend? Danny's not much of a holiday person, but hopefully I'm getting him into it now. So,
Mine's so
no.
It's so. It had its moments, but it had its good moments too. So.
Yeah. What happened? How'd it go?
It's all right. Yeah, we're gonna help out with the funeral a little bit.
We're headed.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the only family member my cousins got left, so I'm not gonna let him. I'm not gonna let him fall on his ass. We got a house to close on that he had built that his mom didn't know about, that he was gonna surprise her as a Thanksgiving present, to move into their own house. So he got about a little bit of closing costs he's got to take care of, which we'll make sure he's all right. So. Other than that, it was all right. Got a surprise. Hey, I got you a fucking ticket to come out to fucking New York. I'm like, all right, cool. So I definitely used the vacation time that I fucking needed to, just to fucking get away for a little bit, and just kind of go silent for a while and go hang out, see some shit I ain't never seen before.
Yeah.
It was all right. Yeah, pretty cool. Yankees are fucking assholes. They're funny as shit, especially when you take a fucking Southern boy around their asses. Holy fuck. I felt like I was back in Germany again. Where the fuck you from, man? Hey. I'm from the real world. Just saying. Yeah. But it was, it was fun. What's up with you, Ghost? You kill nobody over the holidays? Over Thanksgiving? People got to be thankful for their life.
Christmas lights and Coors Light is a family tradition for us. So the day after Thanksgiving, that's what me and my brother get stuck to doing, is fucking with Christmas lights. So we had to deal with that shit. But then we had to explain the birds and the bees to my nephew. More so my brother than me, just because I showed up in the middle of the conversation, had no fucking clue what's going on. So we go outside to finish decorating the Christmas lights, and in the middle of the process, he's like, well, your nephew has figured out what naked means. And he's been Googling the fuck out of it on the wife's, Kindle Fire tablet thing that she's got. I was like, what? So he alluded to the fact that my nephew's been looking at naked women online. 8 years old, which, hey, it's the birds and the bees and the learning process. So he had to sit him down and explain to him, how everything works and what he's, what he was seeing and stuff. And the one question my brother asked, he said, so did you like what you see? Thank God, his fucking face lit up like a fucking Christmas tree, and his ass he had this biggest fucking smile, like he was teasing it. He loved it. Like, he's definitely a fucking Caldwell.
Lord have mercy.
Oh, well, there ain't nothing wrong with all that, dude. He's just a normal kid.
Well, there's older kids in our neighborhood, and he hangs out with them, and we knew it was a matter of time. We just didn't know when, and it finally came out, so he got busted on that one. Especially when he's not tech smart like older guys are, where they'll incognito on their phone,
and they can delete the shit too.
Well, no, if you go into incognito, you don't have to delete shit because it doesn't stay on your phone.
Oh, really? Now?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's probably what my kids did. I had no fucking clue because I'm not that tech savvy.
But then the bad side of the week was I had been involved in a prepper group or militia, whatever they want to call themselves, for quite a while, almost 2 years, and somebody had to make some snide remarks within the group, and it was somebody that didn't have any grounds to stand on because they didn't really have a whole lot to do with the group until last weekend. Well, all week this past week, and even this past weekend, stuff was being said. I walked away from the group because of where I stand on certain viewpoints as far as the leadership's concerned, and I basically got talked down. People talked down to me about some certain things, and basically,
all right, come on. That is not enough scoop, dude. That is so vague. I'm sitting here going, well, it could be so many things.
No, the thing is with the group, there was a guy. He's supposedly a Marine. His nickname's Gunny, and he 22.
Was he an actual gunny?
I don't know. We don't know because he over the summer. Now this is how far I went out of my way to help the guy out. Over the summer, he was supposedly working at a company in a certain part of Columbus, didn't have any means to provide for his family as far as a home. The house that they were living in had basically been taken back by the bank, or the people that owned it, failed to make the payments, even though he was renting it, whatever. Basically, he lost the home. So he sent his family back to New York City while he stayed up in Columbus to work and provide for his family, which is understandable. I mean, you got to do what you got to do. But then when he's saying, well, I'm living out of a tent in a state park, up here, and I don't have any way to take a shower, I don't have a means to do this, I don't have a means to do that, I was throwing everything out there that could help him. VA, veteran-based groups, on Facebook. I went so far as going out of my way to search for a home for this guy and found him several different homes. And finally, thank God, at the end of summer, before school started, he was able to go with the information that I gave him and found a home that would take him and let him rent it. So he was able to bring his family back. Well, that was all well and said. But this guy had been involved with our group from February of this year up until still currently with that group. But this past weekend over the FTX that they had, well, not this past weekend before last, he stayed at an FTX for like 18 hours and then split, which they said that was fine. They didn't care. The problem that I had with it was he called somebody else out in the group that didn't show up, but called him out by name and was demanding basically answers as to why he didn't show up, and then making some pretty snide remarks to the guy about, well, I would have carried your pack, or, I would have done this. You need to be where the metal meets the meat. Yet this was the first FTX in a year that he showed up to, only because he was given an ultimatum. If you don't show up, you're out of the group. You're walking papers and you're going to get, booted. So they gave the guy the final out, and when he called somebody out, it pissed me off because, well, we're supposed to be family. You don't call family out for not showing up for something just because you want an answer as to why. The guy's got a fucked up back just like I do, had a tree fall on his property, and he was stuck by himself on his property cleaning up the fucking mess because the tree fell into his chicken coop, killed several of his chickens, and he had to deal with that shit. So that's why he didn't show up to the FTX. I didn't go to the FTX just because, well, my fucking back does not hold up in cold weather. So I had a problem with it. Last Monday there was a meeting, and it was handed down that, preaching we're family this, we're family that. But then in the course of the meeting, it was, if you don't speak up now, forever hold your peace, and, basically we're done with you if you don't speak up. And basically it was kind of like an obedience thing that they were passing down to us. I didn't agree with that because, they're supposedly preaching this whole family agenda, yet you're going to throw out an ultimatum that if you don't agree with what leadership says, you're out of the group because, well, you just don't matter.
Yeah, fuck that.
Yeah, that's not a family. I'm sorry. You don't throw an ultimatum out to people and tell them you either agree or disagree, and if you disagree, you're done. Or if you don't
that kind of... It sounds like they want to have a hierarchy.
There is a hierarchy, but that's the problem. The leadership in the hierarchy makes decisions on their own agenda that's supposed to benefit the betterment of the group, but the majority of the group doesn't get a say in what happens. With certain situations, yeah, they do, only because they know about those situations. But there are situations that pop up that even one that involved me over the past summer. I was in charge of something and I was removed without being told. So I left. I stepped down from that position unofficially or officially at that point, and they questioned me as to why I stepped down from it. And I told them, I said, well, you removed my status on a certain thing, which is basically an admin status on our chat group for one of our platoons. And that's because supposedly they were looking at merging platoon, but they never told me that. And I
yeah, but the problem with that is that, you know, once you get a bunch of people that get out of the military and you want to have a dictatorship like you do in the army, it doesn't work.
Nobody is ex-military except for myself and about 5 other people.
Oh, that's why they're power hungry.
It's a group of about
yeah.
Well, no. So here's the funny part: the two main people that are in charge have no military service whatsoever.
And that's why they're power hungry, because
Exactly.
they're digging, fucking being dicks to everybody and telling people how it's going to be. And even in the military, you get a general who will talk to his sergeant major and say, "Listen, I need to talk about what's good for morale, what's good for this, and what's good for that." And you know, there's and your lower NCOs have something to say, because they're the ones that talk to the troops on a daily basis and tell them what's up. But this fucking bullshit, no, dude, you don't need any of that. You should start your own damn militia.
Well, that's what I'm working on right now, and that's what that logo that you saw earlier, that's what that's for.
Yeah, I figured it was. I didn't say anything, though. I was like, I know where this is going.
That's what it's for.
Hey, Ron and Beeson gives both of y'all a fucking what's happening.
What's up, dude? Lots
up,
of love.
But like I was saying, I mean, the leadership, they wouldn't, makes it, okay, for the example, per me and the platoon that I was in charge of. At first, I was thrown in as the first sergeant of this platoon so that, I could try to build up training and build up, more people into the group. And I brought a couple, well, really more than just, I brought one guy in that I trusted very, very closely to myself because I've worked with him before. And he's helped me out more in the last year than anybody else that I could think of.
Dude, so I do not get involved in civilian groups like that.
Well, and for me, it's a matter of helping them learn a lot of shit that they don't know, that they
because here's what's going to happen. They're going to go out into the field. Some stupid's going to go down, and I'm just spitballing here, but they're going to go out into the field. Some stupid shit's going to happen, and they're going to fucking react poorly because they have absolutely no real training whatsoever. And I think that's not down with all that stupid shit, because then here's the problem. You get sued. You get fucking sued.
I think that's where he's trying to fix it, though, is he's actually trying to give these people the training that they need in case something goes down. But I have to agree with Killer, though, too. When it comes to the civilians and shit, I wouldn't use half the real shit that we actually use during our fucking training just because of them overreacting on exercise. But I do applaud you, though, because, I mean, people do need to know certain things.
I appreciate it, but the majority of the things that I was teaching and other guys that were in the military were teaching were basics. They weren't, some of the advanced tactical shit that we learned in the military. They were just the basic shit, hand signals, patrol movements.
Well, and which is all really good, and I do applaud you for trying to get them in there. But you can't do what a drill sergeant could do in basic training. You just can't.
No,
because the drill sergeant.
They didn't want to be militarized. They didn't want to be. They didn't want their people to get yelled at, because that was my role. I was like, just let me fucking go hard with it. I fucking rip into them, teach them, and fucking make them understand.
Telling you, they have a lot more fucking respect if somebody's in their face telling them what a fucking idiot they are than if they, you know what I mean, busting them down and building them back up like you're supposed
to. Egos were the hardest thing to get through, because, like I said, they were the two main leaders in the group were working this agenda of merging a couple platoons over the summer, and they removed me as an admin for my platoon. And I'm like, I noticed it. I'm like, what the fuck? All right, they don't want me to be the CO. I'll fucking step down. So I stepped down, and I questioned, well, why'd you step down? Well, you removed me from my admin status, so I can't do shit in regards to adding or removing people in my platoon. Well, we're working this idea, let us work this idea, blah, 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 blah. We told you not to do anything crazy. Well, you didn't tell me that was your agenda. even in the military, if like
You
for-
get orders. You get
You-
an agenda.